All right. Once again, this is the It's My Turn podcast with Myron Turner. I am your host, Myron Turner, and it's good to be back. It's good to be back on. Now, this is episode 5 for those of you who actually have been following. And just a quick thank you for all of the people who have been supporting in the beginning stages of this. I'm just getting started, and I'm expecting big things with this podcast. Um, we have a few listeners all the way in the UK. We got some listeners in the States, and we got some listeners here in New Zealand. And yeah, let's keep building on that audience base because I'm trying to do something special. Today we have something special. Today we're going to talk about trauma, but also triumph. So if you're reading the title of this episode on the Spotify listing or whatever you're looking at it from any RSS feed, it says from trauma to triumph because this is a very unique story from a very unique individual. And this individual happens to be one of my best friends in the whole wide world. I'm going to go ahead and read you a little bit about who she is so we can get right into this nice, yummy meal we got prepared. So her name is Robyn Shanae. She wears so many hats. You know, she's the founder of Robyn Shanae Consultancy. So Robyn is a natural overcomer, career with an educational background in psychology. Robyn is known for having a love for helping anyone she can. Although vastly gifted in many areas such as music, writing, and poetry, she takes more to her skill set of administrative systems. Growing up, Robyn Shanae was known for having a way with words whenever she decided to speak. Being born an optimist, she is blind to opposition, always believing that if there's a will, there's a way, often being looked to for advice and insight. Robyn Shanae grew confidence in being a solutionist. With her faith grounded by her granny's roots, and after spending several years building administratively and in ministry firsthand with her pastor, Matt Blumenberg, Robyn was led to build a team to assist with this movement. Currently, Robyn Shanae Consultancy has worked with countless individuals as well as in churches and with small businesses, offering financial resources and assisting with building systems to yield their success. Please, please do your best to give a warm welcome, if you're here and listening, to my friend, Robyn Shanae. Yay!
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Thank you so much.
So yeah, like I am so glad. I'm so glad that you agreed to do this. This is a huge deal for me. But it's not just about me. Like I think that as you know, what the vision for It's My Turn podcast is trying to help people get out of the prison of their own mind. I guess it's like the voice for the voiceless type thing.
Yeah,
So and you know how we do. You know, we've had numerous conversations around things
of
like this.
course.
Yeah, we go deep. We go deep on these things. But I would like to know if you could potentially help um, just outline wherever you want to start. I mean, it is some of the things that you're going to talk about are really sensitive. So obviously do it at your own pace. But yeah, wherever you want to start. I was gonna say, can we possibly start um, at what type of person you were prior to experiencing any sort of trauma, and then I guess you can just kind of ease into it that way if you talk about who
Mhm.
you were before.
Absolutely. So before I experienced most of the major, I guess you could say major traumas, I was very outgoing, very outspoken, super confident, and I didn't mind speaking my mind. Very opinionated, probably to a fault a bit, but I always had a spirit of integrity. So I would see things that didn't make sense to me, or that I knew wasn't right, and essentially call it out, like, "Hey, why would you do that?" But it was in innocence. I was a child who knew better, and it's like, okay, well, if I know better, then you should know better. So why would that happen, or why would you do that? But it was more out of I'm trying to gather an understanding. So yeah, as a child, I was more so outgoing and outspoken, very confident in understanding what I was taught, what was right, what was wrong.
That makes a lot of sense. Um, and I think we all come up like that, more or less. You know, we get those roots, those grassroots, what's right, what's wrong. But tell me, speaking of what's wrong, where did things take a turn for, things that maybe happened to you or through you that was wrong?
I think the turn ultimately took place at home. And I say that because I didn't come from a household who knew how to handle conflict. We didn't discuss issues. We didn't, um, I wasn't in a household of solutionists at all. Everybody just knew how to keep it moving, just get over it, keep moving, do what you got to do, make it happen. So it was a very driven household, very successful household. But when it came to inner work, yeah, that wasn't an understanding for me. So when I had certain questions or certain experiences, um, I was brushed off more so like most adults do children. Yeah, go over there, sit down, go watch TV. Just shut down and shut out and stay in your place versus, hey, I have a question or I've had an experience that I don't understand. Can you explain it to me? If they didn't have an answer, then it was pushed to the side. And that actually was a conversation that I had with my mom as I got older. She said that a lot of things she dismissed because she didn't know what to do. And she didn't want me to be afraid of the situation. So she would just kind of push it to the side so that I wouldn't be overly concerned. And that was just the way she knew how to handle the situation, coming from a mother herself from Mississippi. uh, just didn't know how to deal with issues. So ultimately, I only received what she had. Not that it was what I needed, but it wasn't that it was a neglect. It was just I don't have anything else to offer as far as capacity. Father, pretty much the same situation, country, family. Both sides of my family are from Mississippi, so a lot of resources as far as mental health or emotional stability, emotional intelligence that probably wasn't even a term when they were growing up. So yeah, I think ultimately it started at home because I wasn't equipped with the tools to be comfortable in my voice when it came to resolving issues or seeking assistance or seeking help. Um, Essentially physical um, trauma started as the family household began to dissipate.
Mm,
Other authority figures would see that I didn't have the covering that I used to have because I grew up in a two-parent household. So there's a point, it's like, okay, hey, what's going on with you? And I'm sharing. And now an authority figure is hearing my story, and me thinking that this is a person that's caring to listen to assist, they're
right.
more so caring to listen to find a way in. And that was where the seepage happened.
You're dropping a lot of gems here. I know, and not everybody has a background in psychology, so I need.
Sorry.
I'm listening to some of the words you're saying, and I'm like, man, what do you when you say shut down? When you talk about emotional tools, and you talk,
Hmm.
can you dig into a little bit of that first before you dig into some of the trauma that was initiated against you? Can you just tell me what do you mean by you had to just um, deal with what was handed to you? That previous generation didn't have the tools. What do you mean by that?
So our older generations, of course, were more so a workforce or a work-minded blue collar type of generation. They knew how to make things happen. You are only you are given what you have, and you have to make do with that. And that's the generation that my parents grew up in. You make do with what you have. You don't complain. You just work and you get it done, and you make do because this is what you have to work with. You appreciate everything you have. So I grew up with understanding what appreciation looks like. I grew up understanding what work ethic looked like. But I,
Yeah,
I grew up with understanding that education is how you get to the next level.
yeah,
Both of my parents were educated. They actually met in college, so they were both educated, but the generation that they came from the emotional stability wasn't there. They just knew, if I want a better situation than where I'm coming from, I have to get an education. And they both did. They both went into the workforce. My mom moved here. My parents got married. Moved to Chicago. My parents got married, and they built their family here in Chicago, and they did what they knew to do. So when it comes to um, the Bible talks about the next generations getting uh, wiser but weaker. And I feel like because they were educated and because they pushed education so much, that we became intelligent in certain areas that they didn't have skills in. So when it comes to conflict resolution, they weren't given opportunities to have conflict resolution in their households. You can't talk back. You can't have an opinion. What I say goes. You do as I do. Do as I say, and not as I do. So you are only taught to obey. You weren't taught to think. You weren't taught to act. You weren't taught to ask questions. In fact, if you did those things, you were looked at as rebellious. So now, me coming up with
Rebellious.
questions. Yes. So now, me coming up, with questions and, uncertainties. And I'm like, well, why is this? Because I said so. Well, what does that mean? And it's not that I'm being rebellious. I'm inquisitive. I have a level of intelligence that you've instilled in me that's different than the opportunity that you had. So now, when you press upon me to have this type of insight, to have this type of thirst for knowledge and learning and understanding, and I'm giving that back to you, you looking at me as if I'm being
Oh,
a
wow.
smart aleck,
I've
you
never thought
know?
about it like that. Wow. We
Mhm.
sure was told to learn, learn as much as you can. Keep reading,
Exactly.
learn. Remember the Pizza Hut book, the bookmark club?
Yes.
And they give
Yes.
you read enough books, they give you some free pieces. You get the free personal pan
Yes.
pieces. Kids today will
Mhm.
never know the joy of
They would
reading a
never.
book and getting a
Exactly.
pizza for reading a book. They will never know.
Exactly.
But no, you're right. Like I never thought about it like that. But as you're talking, I'm actually feeling kind of guilty because some of the stuff that you say, and I'm still parenting that way.
Mm,
And I think, and I'm just being honest, like I think that it's like it isn't ingrained in me. It's just like it was ingrained in you,
yeah.
to be that way and to think
Yeah.
that way and to because it's like, oh, you being disrespectful if you're challenging my thoughts. But
Mm,
sometimes kids have be disrespectful, but that's not always the blanket
mm.
idea. They're not always trying to be disrespectful. Sometimes they actually just curious and they want to know
Exactly.
why you're saying no. Why? What is they're just trying to learn, but we crush their
Mm,
spirit
mm.
slowly by telling them just because I said so. And then because then they
Exactly.
got to go through life feeling like, oh, I guess I don't matter in this area. And
Exactly.
if you build that
And
long enough, that person, yeah. Go ahead.
to that point specifically, in my situation, I'm told to do as I'm taught to do as I'm told. So now when I go into situations where it's like, well, I don't understand why this adult is telling me this, but this is an adult and an authority figure, and I'm told to do what I'm told. So even though this makes me uncomfortable, I don't want to get in trouble. And growing up, that was my mentality when I started to experience these things. Well, this is an adult, this is a trusted adult, this is an authority figure, and I'm told to do what I'm told.
Right.
So I don't want to get in trouble by rebelling and by going against what this person is saying. So I'm just going to fall in line. So it's like we're teaching our children to be victims because we're not allowing them to have a voice. And you
Jesus.
you have to gird children. I mean, essentially, children are reckless because they're a blank canvas. They have no boundaries. They have no borders. So until you instill in them what that boundary and what that border looks like, of course they're going to be reckless and
Mm,
say things that they shouldn't say at times that they shouldn't say it. Those are learning moments. Those are not, I'm going to shut you up and shut you down moments. So experiencing so much shut you up and shut you down, now I'm in this place where I'm being heard and I'm being listened to, but I'm also being cultivated and I'm being groomed, and I don't recognize that. But now, of course, years later, I realized that's what was happening. But I also, now that I've been cultivated to be comfortable with this person, I've been groomed to trust this person. Now, when they're saying something that's making me uncomfortable, well, there's somebody that's here, there's somebody that's been here, there's somebody that's trusted. I don't want to get in trouble. What if they tell my parent that I didn't listen to what they said? And, my understanding is this making me uncomfortable. But when my understanding was that at home, I was told to shut up and do what I said. So now I'm in this situation. It's like, well, I should probably just shut up and do what I'm said now. So
Jesus.
you potentially put your children in positions to be victims when you don't allow them to be comfortable in their voice.
And I'm assuming that's what happened to you.
That's what happened. Yes.
Would you like to delve into that?
Um, yeah. What direction do you want me to go?
Man, you can go any direction you want to. You got free. Honestly, I'm already being transformed in the first 10 minutes. Like you got any direction you want to go in. Please, please.
So again, this was an authority figure, and I was in a place where I thought I was safe. Coming from my household, parents were not on the same page, and the household was divided. Ultimately, the household was divided. There wasn't a lot of communication. There weren't conversation about any resolution. It was just, this is what's happening. Parents getting ready to separate. So all those things were in place, and we just understood that, okay, well, life is about to shift a little bit. And I was 15 at this time. I was 15. So as life began to shift, parents are in different households. My mother and I didn't have the best relationship. My father is no longer in the house. My brothers are in different places now because we all left the family home and we're all in different places. So I understand now that my parents were both on their own journeys and they just didn't have the tools to deal with me in my area of growth. They did put me in therapy for a couple of sessions just so they can understand, so that I can understand that their separation wasn't my fault, which I didn't feel that way. But I do appreciate the fact that they were proactive and collectively came up with that solution for me at that time. But there were other things going on that started to happen later. And because the communication wasn't available when things were happening, I didn't have an outlet. Like I said, my mother and I, we weren't on the same page. We didn't have a good relationship at all at that time. So when I would have take a moment to sit and talk to her, I was often rejected. I was often rejected because she didn't have it for me. She was still in a place of anger. I'm sure not towards me, but just because of the situation. And my father, he's never been a person to really iron out or deal with conflict or issues. He's kind of just, okay, whatever you say, okay, whatever you do, okay, whatever you think.
But he didn't have
So
to, like you say, he didn't have that generation. Who no one taught him.
correct.
Yeah.
Nobody taught him. And my parents, of course, in their own journeys have dealt with their own experiences of trauma that they never went to therapy and dealt with on their own. So, me, as I got older, I began to seek for myself because I saw myself going on a path that I didn't feel safe in. Um, so, yeah, separation happened. I'm with a parent that I don't really have a good level of communication with, an authority figure. Like I said earlier, they knew what was going on, were familiar with my parents, and they began to reach out to me, check in on me, show concern that I didn't have in my household. So I got comfortable. I got comfortable with sharing. I got comfortable with being vulnerable. And at a time where I was completely caught off guard, I was taken advantage of. And in that moment of being taken advantage of, I passed out. Um, so that was one of the first incidents, that the major incidents, and it kind of went on from there. There was an apology. I'm sorry, I got caught up. I'll never do it again. Of course, that's gonna be said. And me being a child, okay,
Give us
and
the timeline, like just so the listeners of the timeline.
mhm,
Obviously, first layer of trauma was the parental separation, but then you have the
mhm,
the the incident that happened when you were taken advantage of, and I'm assuming is this is sexually taken advantage of.
Correct. Yes.
So is this someone that is older, like much
Correct.
older?
Somebody so
When
much
you say
older.
you're a
Yeah.
child, like what was your age?
So when the parents separated, I was 15. When this
15.
incident,
Yeah.
yeah, when this incident happened, I was 16.
Oh my gosh.
So it was just a few months after we actually all separated.
And this is a family friend who this is, this is so eye opening for me because like I said, as a dad, I got two girls right now. And my oldest is going into that preteen stage right now, and I did make that correction within the past 2 years of not doing the whole "do as I say, not as I do," that type of
Mhm.
old school because this was ingrained in me. Like
Mhm.
it's a
Exactly.
DNA. It's just like default programming. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
you need to stop being disrespectful. Now I let them. Um, they feel comfortable talking to me and coming to me, but there's still little, like I can see the still residue is there. Like
Yeah.
I want her as a young girl. I want both of them as young girls to have that confidence that I see so many women like yourself walk in now.
Mhm.
And I'm just trying to correct myself to make sure that I don't put them in a state where they just kind of like mindless drones where they just follow whoever they feel they should trust. They'll just follow it. And then
Yeah.
we've heard so many stories about sexual abuse, but we don't hear the backstories about how this setup actually happened. Okay. The reason why this happened is because I didn't feel confident as an individual to stand up for myself and have a voice
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
wasn't taught to have a voice. Therefore,
Yeah.
I just gave my body because I didn't have a voice. And this was a trusted family friend. And it just makes
Mhm.
me afraid because I got a lot of family friends. And so it's
Yeah.
just like, man, like it's like, and I kill somebody over my kids. Like I'll say that on camera.
Absolutely.
I'm saying that on camera.
Absolutely.
I will Jeffrey Dahmer chop up somebody over these kids. Like honestly, I
Absolutely.
love my girls and my son with my whole
Mhm.
heart. Like I would literally, you got this on record. I'm crazy when it comes to them.
Mhm.
When it comes to them, don't do it. Don't press the red button.
Mhm.
Anyway,
And
continue.
my dad is the same way, by the way. If he had known, I know people would have been dead. So,
Yeah.
and that's, to be honest, that's another fear. That was absolutely another fear. I tried to share with my mom, but she didn't allow that open level of communication between us. But I was afraid to share with my dad because it's like, well, I don't have a good relationship with my mom. If I share with my dad, he gonna kill him. Then he gonna go to jail. Then who would I have? Because I don't have my mom. So who would I have?
This is so deep. Oh my God. The layers of complexity.
And this is in a mind of a child. This was in the mind of a child.
Yeah, you ain't barely got your own car yet at this point.
Right.
16.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. I'm stop interrupting you.
No, you're good. You're good. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know.
Okay, so abuse just does the first incident just happen. When you say first, I'm
Mhm.
assuming there's more.
Mhm.
But the first incident just happened. You're 16. You can pick up from there.
Yeah. So it was ongoing. It was definitely an ongoing situation. We would share space. Like I said, it was an authority figure. So there were certain spaces that we were in together because they were an authority. And it was calm. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe it was an accident. They're human. Um, I'm very forgiving. I'm a very forgiving person. I'm a person that loves people, that loves to help, that loves to take care of. So just with my nurturing heart, I'm just like, okay, well, they just had a bad day. This was just a bad moment for them, and they're not going to do it again. So when it proceeded to happen, and then I noticed them putting themselves in positions where they had access to me. So I would personally try to find avenues to where I don't cross paths with them, and they would intercept. So if I were to speak with another adult, like you said, at the time you probably didn't have a car. So if I was to say, hey, to a particular adult, hey, I need a ride home, would you be able to take me? Oh, sure, I got you, I'll take you home. That person would intercept that person, hey, I'm going to take Robyn home. I live closer. You don't have to go that way. I live closer. So now an adult is telling me, oh, such and such is going to take you home. And it's like, well, wait, you know, that wasn't my plan. But again, I'm a child, and now I'm being told what the adult is going to do. I don't have the authority to say anything different because I tried. And now the authorities are coming in place and changing the plan because they're talking amongst themselves, and they're adults and I'm not. So because I didn't have a voice to talk in the safety of my home, I didn't have any other outlets. This was my outlet here. This was my safe space here.
Oh my
So
God.
it's like, okay, all I can do is really just be on guard and watch. And there would be times where I would be taken home and they're like, oh, relax, I'm not going to do anything to you. It was literally that verbiage. I'm not going to do anything to you because they can see me tense. I'm tense. I'm literally leaning on the door while they're driving because I don't want to be too close. And they're like, I'm not going to do anything to you. Stop. You can be comfortable. And they would either, depending on the day, they would either let me go and be calm that day, or they would still do something anyway. And again, authority figure older than me, um, bigger than me, physically can overtake me.
Of course.
So I don't feel like I have any options, and I didn't want to say anything because one, I was afraid of him getting in trouble. I was afraid of getting in trouble myself because I've seen
Wait, come on. Oh my
people.
goodness. I'm sorry. Right. Please wait,
Mhm.
pause.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
How is it? What mind state now? I'm trying my hardest not to cry listening to this, to be honest, man. What mind
Sorry.
state? No, I'm be sorry. Like it's just a really hard. I'm just again like yeah, it's heartbreaking because I know you and like I've never heard the story in detail. Funny, as long
Mhm.
as much as we talk,
Right.
I've never actually had to heard story in detail. So, but I get
Yeah.
what mind state do you have to? I mean, how do I ask this question? Is it normal for um victims of these sort of situations to feel like they need to protect their abuser to some
Absolutely.
degree?
Absolutely. And just to give you a little bit of fast forward, this situation happened for over 15 years. I got into a place in my mind because I felt like as that 16-year-old, and going further up, that I was losing my mind, that I couldn't handle this situation because it was too overtaking for me as a child. It was too overtaking. So in my mind, I said, and in accordance with what this person was telling me, because over time they began to tell me that this was a relationship, that we're actually in love, and that people just can't handle that because of our age difference. So this is like Romeo and Juliet. This is a forbidden love, and
So
this
it's
has to stay between
manipulating you on a
us.
high
Oh,
end.
facts. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, just to say the covering or the protecting of your abuser, fast forward, I was actually, when I did start my journey with therapy, I was diagnosed with Stockholm syndrome. And that is when you are a person who actually protects your abuser. So, yes, we do get in. If it's an ongoing thing, or if this is a person that you have a very close knit as far as relationship, as far as like a relative or something, absolutely you're going to want to protect them. And I was actually diagnosed with Stockholm syndrome.
Oh my God. Okay. Um, carry on. Where were you? I'm
Yeah.
gonna cut you off.
It's okay. So yeah, continued on with the, like I said, the I love you and you love me, and this is just a forbidden love. People won't understand, so we have to keep it between us. And so in my mind, I said, well, this is a relationship, and I had to process it that way because mentally I couldn't handle being a victim. I just couldn't handle that mentally. That my fear growing up was always being a victim, being sexually assaulted, being kidnapped. I was always afraid of that. Of course, your parents instill don't talk to strangers, don't get in the car with nobody. So they didn't necessarily instill that a fear, but they did instill that type of caution. So that became a fear of mine, and just growing up in the Chicago area, you just hear a lot, you see a lot happens. And I just had a mentality where I was afraid of being a victim. Um, so yeah, that situation progressed in that manner. And even to the point of where I was uncomfortable, and I would say, okay, like you got to stop. I don't want to do this. Like this is uncomfortable. It was places that they wanted to do certain things in places, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And I remember one time saying, if you do this again, I'm gonna tell. And he laughed in my face, and he said, who do you think they're going to believe, me or you? And if they do believe you, who do you think they're going to throw away,
Who
me or
do
you?
you think they're gonna believe, me or you?
Mhm.
Wow.
Literally said, I'm everybody's favorite. Who do you think they're going to throw away, me or you?
Throw
So,
away.
throw away, yes. First thing he said was, who do you think they're going to believe, me or you? And if they do believe you, who do you think they're going to throw away, me or you? I'm everybody's favorite. So now it's like, well, I don't have a family anymore at home. This is the only family that I've grown myself. So if I say anything, they're going to throw me away. And I still, again, I'm back to having nobody. So what do I do? What do I do as a child? What do I do?
Wow. One thing that's very hard to do is make Myron Turner speechless. You have done it. I I don't honestly. I have no idea what this. I did have a list of questions. Maybe I should go to my list of questions. I could stay on task.
Okay.
I am completely dumbfounded by this, man. Like this story, and I'm sure you keeping a lot out the story.
I am.
Um, I'm
Yeah.
like, I know I'm getting the PG
Censoring.
version of this story, and I couldn't imagine the full
Very true.
version.
Very true.
Okay, so this podcast is about the turn. When did you decide to not be a victim? So, um, what is the exact pivotal moment? If you want to share more and on the trauma side, you can. But I would
Mhm.
like to know as you lead up to that, what was the exact moment you decided, hey, over this 15 years, okay, enough is enough. I'm not gonna allow myself to be this trauma victim anymore. I don't want to wear my trauma as an identity anymore. I want to be more than my trauma.
Mhm.
What was the moment of realization, or it could have been over a period of 3 weeks, or if it was one day or one event, whatever it was.
Mhm.
What we're trying to do on this podcast is try to figure out, how can we help people see how to get out of their trauma episodes. What was that? What's the mental turning point? What was the time you said, okay, mind shift time, it's over?
It definitely happened over time. When I became 19, I'm already in college. I'm moving around a little bit more. And he didn't have as much of a hold on me. Of course, he was very influential in the decisions that I made, but I still got to move around a little bit more. And he still tried to little girl me, little kid me. And um, he would you don't know what you're talking about. You're just a kid. You're just a kid. You're just a kid. He would always reference me as just a kid. And I got to a point, like I said, around 19, where I said, look, this is a relationship. This is what it is. You're not going to talk to me like that. We got to have some boundaries of respect here. At this point, I'm grown. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and it's going to be a relationship. And yeah, this ain't no relationship. You're just a kid. And I'm like, well, I'm not a kid. I'm over 18 at this point. I'm not a kid anymore. But we're going to handle this differently. And he just would continue to laugh and reference me as a kid. And I said, okay, the next time you reference me as a kid, I'm going to reference you as a child abuser. So if I'm a child, then you're a child abuser. So where we at now? And he never called me a kid again.
Of
So I
course.
feel like at that point is where there was a turn, because he was an abuse victim himself. So he didn't want to be considered an abuser,
Oh,
even though,
so he was abused.
yes, he was abused. Yes, he was. He shared that with me. He also shared with me that he's abused other people, but didn't realize that that's what was happening. So he talked about sexually assaulting a young lady at the time. And I think this was in his younger years, though.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, she said, well, you raped me. And he's like, I didn't rape you. We had sex. You wanted to have sex with me. And she says, no, I didn't want to have sex with you. he says, but you like me? She said, yes, I did like you, but I didn't
Mm,
want to have sex with you. And when I
mm,
said no, you didn't stop. And he said that was a light bulb moment for him because he never wanted to see himself as an abuser,
mm.
but because that happened to him. But that was your pattern, though. That was your pattern because you never dealt with what you experienced yourself. So yeah, that was a turning moment for me where I took a little bit of control because I knew that about him. I knew that you didn't want to be considered an abuser. So now, you have to change your terminology and the way that you handle me when you speak.
You put the
Um,
mirror in front of him. You forced him to look at the
Absolutely,
truth and say, "Look, well, you're a child
absolutely,
abuser. That's who you are." And he didn't want to face that,
exactly,
so he,
absolutely not. If you're
mm,
having sex with me and I'm a kid, then you're a child abuser. So let's change our terminologies right here.
yeah.
So yeah, that was a point where there was a bit of a turn for me. Continuing on, we would have moments where he would just blank out and stop talking, and I would move on and go about my life. And he would always find a way to grab me back. Uh, Mainly because when we would separate, something major would happen to him as far as illness or injury or something like that, and I would come back to help take care of him. And he made it as if he would these things happen to him because I wasn't there, because you left me.
Mm.
And it really wasn't me leaving. He would
So
leave. He
he's
would stop
still trying
talking.
to manipulate,
Absolutely. To
even
the
in your
last,
20s.
yes,
You're in
to
your
the
20s at this
last
point,
day.
right? Wow.
I'm in my 20s at this point, yes. So, yes, he was very much so pull me back in with I need you. I'm not gonna, I only eat your cooking. So if you don't cook, I'm not gonna eat. And like it was very that,
Oh my
I'm
God.
sick because you weren't here. If you was here, I wouldn't be sick. It's like so it was very that with that situation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You said it was overtime.
Mhm.
So if we're talking about like what, how many years we talking about? What, like when you say overtime, can you specify like when do you think these were the years that things became lighter for me? I started to whatever exercise, whatever you want to say
I would
that turned
say
into health.
I would say the turns it was a total of probably about 12 years. The situation probably lasted for about 17 total. And the turn for me, it took about 12 years. 19 was the beginning, early 20s when the separations here and there started. That was more because when I would come back, there would be a little bit more authority. I was still very submissive. He still very much had control. I very much did whatever he said, but there was still a little bit of a voice for me at the same time. He would have these random outbursts. Like one time he told me that my goal was to destroy you, not because you did anything wrong, but because I had to prove to myself that I couldn't be loved and I couldn't do that with you around. That was a big level of confusion for me.
Wait, can you say that again?
Yeah, he said my goal was to destroy you, not because you did anything wrong, but because I had to prove to myself that I couldn't be loved and I couldn't do that with you around. So his means of attacking me and coming for
Oh,
me and demeaning me and doing the things, it was a mental break. I had mental breakdowns with him. Um, and that's what it was a mind thing. So his goal was to break me, and again, when I'm saying him, I'm referring to the demonic attachment that he has.
mm,
That thing wanted to destroy me, and he
mm.
literally said that to me. My goal was to destroy you, not because you did anything wrong, but because I had to prove to myself that I couldn't be loved and I couldn't do that with you around.
Wow.
He said he called me his angel. He said when I came around, he was preparing to commit suicide. And because I showed him so much love, which he just saw the light of God, it's not like I was really doing anything. I was just a kid. But because I exuded so much love and so much God, it was too much for he couldn't choose to take his own life anymore. He couldn't choose to do that. So now when he's getting in these places, like, okay, if I take you out, then I can take myself out without a conviction because I can't do that because I know that you love me. And if you love me, you represents God's love. Like this is what he's saying. This is what he's saying to me.
There's a lot of meat on this bone. I think we're gonna have to do a part two
Mhm.
at some point because I'm not gonna get it all done in this episode. I can just tell you. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
listeners. We're gonna have to do a part two. I gotta get ready to land this plane. So
Hmm.
um I'll ask you two final questions.
Hmm.
I'll skip that question next. I'll ask you I'll ask you I'll ask you what are the practical steps you needed to start to take your like what started the healing process for you? Like practical steps that listeners can take away. Okay, this is practically what you might need to do. And I guess that follow up question
Hmm.
to that would be what you say to someone who feels stuck where you once were.
I would say the most practical step I took was therapy. Um, of course, God is the answer to everything, but
Yes,
my trauma, part of my trauma was church related. So finding God in a place that I no longer felt safe, that wasn't gonna happen for me. And if and I know other people who have been traumatized in
in
certain,
church, yeah, or
yeah,
from
in
somebody in
certain
church environment.
yeah, exactly. Certain religious arenas or certain people who had a religious title and they abused that. So God is always the answer. Let's make that very clear.
There we go.
However,
Mm.
when we're talking about something that's tangibly there and practical, I would say therapy. And don't just get a therapist and just go with that. You find a therapist that looks like you, comes from where you come from, in an age range that you respect, that believe, that have the similar a similar belief system as you. Find a therapist that work for you. If you meet with this one and y'all don't vibe, cool, on to the next one. It's a journey. I've been through 4 therapists, and I have a therapist and a life coach right now, and they work for me because I got to a point where just a therapist wasn't enough, so I got a life coach. Now I'm good. You have to be the one that's driving. You can't let somebody, and being someone who's experienced trauma and experienced victimization, is easy to just let somebody else drive. You have to be the one to allow God to guide you to driving yourself. When I got to a point where I said, okay, I wasn't even unsafe with me. Like, I didn't feel suicidal per se. Like, I wasn't in that season. I felt like I was going to hurt somebody else. So now that I feel like people around me aren't safe, I have to do something. So, like I said, number one, find a therapist. Find a therapist, find a life coach, find someone who can give you tools, because that's what you need. You need tools to equip you, with making adjustments. If you're in a cycle of something, you have to make small adjustments to change that cycle. You have to detour off of that wheel so that you can make an adjustment, make a transition. You have to detour off of that wheel. So that would be my first practical step.
Yeah, and the follow up question. Thank you for that. And the follow up question
Mhm.
would be, if someone was, what would you say to someone who is stuck, who feels stuck where they are right now? Well, like they may be listening to this, and they may say, "Look, that's great for her, but I'm never getting out of this."
I felt like that. I suicidal at times. I've taken pills. A lot of things. A lot of things, to where I didn't feel like there was a way out. And again, God is always the answer. God is always the answer. Find a place where you can use your voice. And um, I don't care if it's a sister circle, a group. I'm a poet, so I write. I started writing. I started journaling. I found a group of writers that I can share my art with. And these are things. These are gifts. These are gifts and talents that you have. Um, Find a way to release that, so that some of that stuff can start shedding. You'll be surprised that when you tap into the gifts that God gives you, that pressure and stress begins to shed. When those things shed, you have a regulation that happens within yourself.
Mm.
Your mindset and your energy, you're able to regulate a lot better. It helps you with your decision making. It helps you with not falling back into the norm or what's comfortable. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. If something is starting to shift and it looks a little wavery because it's unfamiliar, keep walking in it. Keep walking in it. If it's safe, then keep walking. Don't just veer off because it's unfamiliar.
Wow.
That's how you get unstuck.
Whew. Well, thank you so much once again. And honestly, I the only reason I stopped because I feel like there's more, and I think that we need to maybe off camera discuss how to do a part two because I feel like you have so much to offer. Like we said in the beginning, Robyn actually wears a lot of hats. She's musically gifted. She's a writer. She's a poet, and as far as all of the poetry stuff, you got to see that too when you get a chance. So what I'm going to do is put her link tree link, which gives you access to all, which her professional website, but also her all of her social links as well, on the link tree. So I'm going to put that in the description so you can follow Robyn online and things like that, and maybe even connect if you need to, um, because tea is a blessing. I mean, definitely been a blessing to my life for a
Mhm.
long time, almost almost 20 years. Almost 20 years.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, is of just being a pillar in my life, and can't thank you enough for that. And I just hope that this blesses a lot of women out there and men, who may be in or have gone through a situation like this, and they're not getting the therapy, they're not getting help,
Mhm.
and they just kind of stuck there. That's what this podcast is for, is to kind of reach out to those people. But we will land the plane now. Thank you so much again for sharing some time with me, and yeah, we'll finish up. I'll see you guys on the next one. This has been the It's My Turn podcast with Myron Turner, and this was episode 5 with Robyn Shanae, from trauma to triumph.